Welcome, one and all, to Wednesday Night Strength Theory, the weekly YouTube live show where you ask the questions and I shine my ass. We're here with you during, well, you know, all the things and the stuff. And well, we're glad to be here, along with all our buddies, Boucher, Guitars, Robin, Guillaume, Julian, the whole crew up in Berthier-sur-Mer. Thank you so much for staying with us so long. Levy's Leather Straps, best straps in the world. G&G Music, Glenn Gotel up in Antigonish. Fantasy Music in Halifax, Steve and Neil, not the Premier. K&K Sound, best pickups in the world. Gallagher Guitars, Recording King, Alvarez, Yeri, Yamaha Canada. James Martin Instruments from Ireland.
The reverb was on.
And the reverb was on. And I sounded like God. So, there you go. And I'm just having a Uncle Leo's, Pictou County's very own Uncle Leo's, having a nice splash of their smoked porter. I don't even know if I want to drink this. This could get raunchy.
Okay.
It's the best beer ever made. So, how are y'all doing? We're here, still in one piece, doing our thing, and yeah, there's lots going on. I'm producing an album for somebody right now, so I've got that on the go, which has slowed my review process down a little. But yeah, we're just busy, doing live shows and live here and shipping them out to people who want to see us do silly things. And the lovely Ginger's in the house.
Hi.
That's the Loch Ness voice. So, hit me. What do you got tonight? Bring it on.
First up is Caper Away.
Yes.
Do you think the Savoy in Glace Bay has some great sound or acoustics for shows? Also, have you ever gone to the main event afterward?
The Savoy Theatre probably has the best sound of any theatre in Canada. And I've been in the main event so many times that there's a urinal in there named after me. Who wanted to know that?
Caper.
Oh, Caper, of course, yes. All right, who's next?
You're going too fast. They want to know what the prize is for the draw.
Which draw?
The new one from
The
GG.
new grand prize?
Yep.
We're not decided yet. Glenn's thrown some ideas. I'm working with him, but we're going to get to it. I'm going to actually talk to him next week. I won't have time to do it. Well, I might have time to do it in the morning. I'm going to give him a call. If you're watching, Glenn, I'm going to call you. We're sorting out a prize. Want it to be a good one. And but we're going to have our regular weekly prizes, as we always do with Fantasy and Glenn. But yeah, so yeah, we gave away that nice blue Yamaha last week, so we're just going to sort whatever we're going to do at Glenn's. Glenn's a weird beast. He's got a lot of stuff up there, so we're trying to figure out the best thing to do. Anyhow, just stay tuned. Next week we'll know, so tune in next Wednesday night. Next.
We got a super chat from Ted Whitmore.
Ted Whitmore.
He says, dumb question number 1. How do I know my strings are dead?
Because they sound like shit. That's the easiest way to tell. If they don't have any sustain, if you hit one and it goes thud, then they're dead. They should ring, and should be a ton of sustain. If there's no sustain, if they sound really muddy and fat and flat, they're dead. And you should be changing. You should be using elixirs. Number 1, phosphor bronze light gauge is the best gauge to use, unless you're adamant about using mediums. But I don't really see the point. I put mediums on my Gallagher for the bluegrass show I just taped, and was horrible. They're just not. I just can't play medium gauge anymore. It's just not feasible. And it just takes away from the playability of the guitar so bad that as soon as I get a chance to, I'll be ripping these off and putting some lights back on it, because it sounded incredible with the mediums, but it's just not as playable. So, yeah. Next.
Jim Hegan, super chat.
Jim Hegan, super chat.
Is it possible to make non-major alterations to factory guitars that are deemed high quality based on prestige and where perhaps only 1 in 10 actually make the mark, i.e. factory CF Martin D28?
So the question is, what is it?
Is it possible to make non-major alterations to factory guitars, high quality factory guitars?
Well, that's an open-ended question because I don't know what a non-major alteration would be. I mean,
Nuts and bridges and maybe.
yeah, I mean you can
Fretboard?
replace nuts and saddles and bridge pins, but that's it. Everything else is major. Like, if you wanted to change pick guards, or there is nothing non-major on any guitar. It's the only everyday minor things that you can do to a guitar that's not going to be a massive project is changing out the bridge pins, the nut or the saddle, even the nut in the saddle is a nightmare because they have to be recut exactly the way they should be. Other than that, you're talking about major surgery. It doesn't matter what you're doing. The only other thing is a pickup install. That's the least intrusive thing you can do to an acoustic, especially if you're using a K&K. Just might get my chance to talk about that every night. But it's true. That is true. But I don't know. I'm, you know what? I get so frustrated these days with Martin questions. It's sort of pushing me over the edge, if you know what I'm saying. If you've got a bad Martin, you shouldn't have bought the Martin. That's the bottom line. If you buy a Martin and you get it home and go, well, Jesus, I got to tear this thing apart, turn it into another guitar, you should have just bought another guitar. And I'm getting a lot of comments these days about on two sides of this fence, right? People that are like, yeah, I'm never going to buy another Martin, or I'm getting people that are pissed off at me for speaking out against them. Well, this question right here is a great example of things that I hear every single day. I just bought a Martin. I don't like it. I paid $5,000 or $3,000 or whatever it might be. And if you're, you know what, take them. If you're thinking about doing something that drastic to the guitar, go trade it off on something else that you like. Rather than, there's no need of buying an instrument that you then have to put all this heartache and work into to get it to be what you want it to be. I don't ever do that. I have all kinds of guitars here, and every one of them I'm happy with because I don't choose guitars I'm not happy with. That's why there's no Martins in this room. That's why there's no Gibsons in here. That's why there's no Taylors in here. Now, mind you, some of those guitars would be amazing, and I'd love to have them, but I can't afford them, right? So, especially when you're talking about a Martin, they're overpriced. So if you're going to pay a ton of money for them, you got to make sure you get the one you want, and the one that's going to, you got to watch it for the first 8 months to make sure that it's not going to fall apart. And then if it survives the first year, you should be good. And, if you buy any guitar, I don't care who makes it, and it starts to fail, I mean, it's a bad guitar. Take it back. Get your money back. Get it trade it off. Do something. Don't keep bad guitars. Anyhow, there's my rant for the night because I'm just tired.
First rant, anyway.
The first one.
I'm sure there'll be more.
Wait till I get 4 or 5 of these into me. Oh,
Great,
sorry.
saucy.
Who's next?
We got a super chat from Cam.
My old buddy Cam, Mac Master.
You gonna play the Cam theme song?
Cam McMaster, Cam McMaster, Cam McMaster all day long. Oh, Cam McMaster, Cam McMaster, you can't go wrong. There's the theme song for Cam for tonight.
Today's version.
You like that little phrasing thing I did there at the end?
Where you couldn't come up with words?
Left you waiting?
Where you couldn't come up with words, that bit?
No, I just left the hole there.
Oh, so on purpose.
Because people think of Cam, they think of holes. Uh-oh, who's talking to me?
Anyway, he has a question.
Yes.
Should I have another PBR? I don't know what a PBR is.
Don't tell me. I know what a PBR is. Should I have another PBR? What's a PBR?
If it was a PRB, it'd be like a pre-race beer.
Professional bull rider?
If it was a PRB, it'd be a pre-race beer. But a PBR.
PBR is professional bull riders. So that's what the PBR is.
I think it's probably more than that. Okay, Cam, help us out here. What the heck is that?
Peanut butter and rum?
Oh, it's an American beer, the Blue Ribbon, Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Oh, Pabst Blue. Oh, yes. By all means. Drink your Pabst. It's great beer. It's not strong or anything, but it makes you piss as much as everybody else at the party. It's good for you. You should be drinking some of this porter, 6.8%.
Probably can't get that down there.
That's beer. Pabst Blue Ribbon. Friggin' Americans. I love you guys. Sorry. You can't talk to if you're American, there's no point talking to a Canadian about beer. Sorry. When I was in college in Mississippi, I used to take my buddies out drinking. That was a cheap drunk, I'll tell you. Holy God. They used to sell Budweisers in these little bottles called ponies. 8 of them in an 8-pack, and they were about that high. And my buddy, Steve Butler, would drink 6 of those and be unconscious. Like, I don't know what was... He must have had a really low tolerance, I guess. I don't know. It was only 2 or 3% alcohol. Okay, enough of that. So far we've bashed Americans, Martin's, American beer. What else? I'm on a fucking roll here. Let's get going. Let's keep going.
Okay, Ted.
Sorry,
Ted Whitmore.
I love you guys. I'm sorry.
Ted Whitmore is another super chat.
Who is it?
Ted Whitmore.
Oh, good. Tim, where is he now? Does he say? Doesn't know.
No,
That's not the same
that's not
Tim.
him.
That's not the same Tim. It's Tim.
No.
Oh, it's another. He just was just here.
Ted Whitmore. He had
Yeah,
one
right.
super chat. Now he has another.
Ted Skidmore.
No.
Whitmore. Whitmore.
What are you
right.
on?
I don't know. You're talking so fast. I'm like, what is,
You have to listen faster.
There's flies buzzing around my head. Okay, go ahead.
So dumb question number 2.
Okay, give her.
How do I know which guitar to put elixirs on?
The one with strings?
The one that's a guitar?
The one, yeah, any guitar. I don't care what it is. Well, they make electric strings too, but any guitar. I put elixirs on every guitar that I own. Because you're just going to be happier with the sound of them longer than a standard string. Now, mind you, there's some companies such as, GHS or John Pierce is one of my favorites. There's all kinds of companies that make fantastic strings, but they don't last as long as elixirs. And they might sound better than elixirs, but they only sound better than elixirs for a couple of hours, and then they start to die. And they come down that 10% better that they sound than an elixir, maybe 10%, maybe. They lose that 10% advantage so fast, and then they go way below elixirs quickly. So what's the point, right? Just buy the elixirs. I mean, for a guy if a guy has a guitar in his house and he's not a pro player, and by that I mean not your ability, but the amount of time you spend playing hard, right? If you're not gigging 4 nights a week, a set of elixirs should last you 6 months easily and sound just about the same when you take them off as when you put them on, right? Me, I play so friggin' hard and long, go to a show, I play for 2 hours. I can get 6 shows out of one set of strings. That's a miracle for me. And they never break. I've never broken one yet. And mind you, I change them. You'll see, and they're kind of cool because elixirs, you can see when they're getting worn out because the string right along in here, right here where you pick, you'll start to see like fuzz, like a little tiny bit of fuzz. Like you just barely see it. And that means that the coating's starting to break down. When it starts to break down here, it's most likely breaking down elsewhere, so that's when you change them. And even then, you can play them past that point, and they'll still sound fine. And, but yeah, any guitar. I don't care which one it is. Driver on all of them. Okay, next.
We have a super chat from Alex.
Hello, Alex. How are you doing, buddy?
JP, I finally caught you live. This is my first question ever on string theory.
Sweet.
I'm a
Newbie.
a youngish, in quotations, or in brackets, player who is getting into bluegrass.
All right.
How should I spend my time practicing between theory and tunes?
Well, I would stay away from actual technical musical theory. You can use some of it for memorization purposes, but I wouldn't ever use theory to learn bluegrass. You should be splitting your time with doing serious ear training, which means, and the best way to do ear training in bluegrass is to listen to Doc Watson, because he was so clean and his recordings were so simple that the guitar stands out. You can hear everything it's doing, and use tablature. If you need to see it on paper, use tablature and get rid of the tablature as quick as you can. Learn it and then play along with the record, and get the timing, get the tone, get the attack, figure all that out. And the more of that you learn, the better bluegrass player you're going to be, and the faster you'll learn. If you try to learn bluegrass music sort of off of paper and try to memorize it through associating it with theoretical concepts, you're missing the point of the genre of music. It's an ear music. None of the guys with the exception of Rice, and even Rice didn't really learn much about music until he went out to California and joined Grisman and got in with John Carlini and those guys, and they taught him theory. And he only took enough of it to do what he wanted to do, what he wanted to invent, and he walked away from it, right? He played by ear. And so, yeah, just listen to Doc, until you throw up. And then get on to guys like Dan Crary and Norman Blake, those guys that play super clean and play the old tunes and play them correctly before you start branching out into ad-libbing and all the possibilities. Learn the basics first, and don't rely on fly shit. Do it with your ear. And even when I call it fly shit, it's just even tablatures that to me. After a while, it's only a tool if you just can't figure something out. But after a while, it becomes a crutch and then a detriment, because your brain is not creating muscle memory from tactile sources. It's creating it from visual sources, and that's no good. You shouldn't have to look at your instrument at all or look at anything to play. This is all you should be using, is your ears. That's it. All right. I hope that helps you. I'm glad to hear you're learning to pick.
We got a super chat from Jeff Gallant.
Jeff Gallant. Gallant.
Probably not. It says, "Good evening, my man. Just wondering if you have any PEI shows possible since the bubble opening is getting near."
Just keep your eye on the website and my artist page, because there is shows booked now. I just don't know when and where they are, but last count, there's 4 nights in a row happening there somewhere.
April sometime?
Yeah. Just keep an eye on the website.
Tentatively?
Keep the website or the artist page or whatever. They'll be announced, don't worry, with plenty of advance warning. Hope to see you there. You owe me a beer, bastard.
Maybe I can come too.
Oh, God. Yeah, but then he'd see your face.
That's okay.
You have to wear a mask the whole time.
Just wear a mask.
Or we'll have to kill him after he sees you.
It'll be a limited audience.
Oh, okay, there you go, yeah.
And it's not on the internet forever. So. We have a super chat from Scott McCone.
Scotty McCone. Got the big job today. Didn't say what kind.
No, I don't know. Which of your talents do you wish you got a bit more attention for? I'm thinking of your music production skills or studio work.
I don't know. It's a hard question to answer. I've worked. The only reason it's so hard to answer is because I've worked equally hard at every single thing that I've done. So I couldn't pick one thing that would deserve any further accolades than what I've received. I've gotten exactly what I deserved. So, yeah.
Baking?
I don't know. Yeah, baking. Baking. I wish people knew more about my prowess around the oven and the flour and the cake pan.
Those are the only things he knows.
King of the rolling pin. Crisco?
Oh dear.
Yes.
We got a super chat from Cam.
Cam McMaster again.
Again.
Cam McMaster calling back again. Cam McMaster, he's my best friend. Cam McMaster, he's calling back again on string theory. That's 2 theme songs in one night. You're really getting lucked out here. I'll tell you, it's getting good.
He says, for the record, I'm from Judith, Cape Breton,
Oh, I knew that.
but raised on PEI. My question,
I knew that.
what keeps you wanting to spend your Wednesday nights with us?
Because I'm a pale, desperate man with nothing else to do. And
Make them feel good about themselves.
I just have nothing in my life. So
Make me
I'm
feel
here.
bad about myself.
I have the funny feeling all that Cam does is just try to set me up for the best line, right? Why do I do this? Well, you know me, I'm Johnny Honest, so the main reason is financial. It's a job now for us. And you guys are helping to pay all our bills, and YouTube's helping to pay all our bills. So, but at the same time, I actually look forward to this night of the week more than anything that I do, because there's a community that has built here, and it's very unique. I follow all kinds of people on YouTube. I'm a YouTube junkie long before this. I follow Tony Policastro, the Acoustic Life channel. I follow about 15 or 20 different tech guys. Like, I watch their videos every single day. Flossie Carter and John Prosser, and all these guys I watch every day talking about phones and recorders and everything under the sun. This tech review, and so I feel, and I guess lastly, I feel at home doing this because this is what I've done for a living all my life. Except now, I just have to walk into this building and I'm at my job. I don't have to drive 2,000 miles to meet all you guys in the same place. So, I could make a list of magic things why we keep doing this. It's fun. And it pays our bills, and it lets me talk to people that I would never talk to otherwise, because I would never know about them. And on and on it goes. Everybody drink? So, good question. So there's the answers, and just some of them, I guess. There's probably more if I thought about it. But, yeah. It's actually made me wonder. I was just thinking about it today. Like, I went out to town, and I came back to the house, and I was crawling up the steps there, and thought to myself, what am I going to do if my agent ever books a gig on a Wednesday night now, right? And I was thinking to myself, I'm going to have to not ever take any more dates on Wednesdays.
Or do string theory on the go.
Or I'll have to do it on the road, right? That's how important this has become to me. It's actually the best that I feel all week long about work, right? I'm in here working all the time, but it's hard on the head. This isn't hard on the head. This is just fun, right? And I learn a lot of things on this show. A ton of stuff that I've found out, people I've met, new friends I've made, all kinds of gear I didn't know about, all from sitting here every Wednesday night. So the question is, why wouldn't I keep doing this? That's the question. Next.
We have another super chat from Ian Ruster.
Ian Rossiter. How you doing, buddy?
The only question I could find, because it wasn't connected, it's what's in an Nanaimo bar?
I don't know. I know there's coconut and chocolate and some weird yellow stuff.
Okay. He has a
I don't know
suggested
what-
answer, but we'll see what yours is.
That's all I know.
Yellow stuff and chocolate. Yeah, he says Hell's Angels and strippers.
At a Nanaimo bar. Oh, God. Jesus. I should have saw that coming.
You
Good
took
one,
the
Ian.
serious route. You're
Yeah.
wrong. We have a super chat from Glenn Williams. I don't.
Glenn Williams.
It's just as a comment. He says, "Love this every week. Keep it up."
Thank you, Glenn.
Thank you, Glenn.
Thank you, brother.
We got a super chat from Jeff again.
Jeff Gallant.
He says, "Hey Johnny Honest, can you do a Jeff Gallant theme song on the mandolin? It would be artistically epic."
This is going to become a regular thing every week. Oh, Jeff Gallant, Jeff Gallant. He holds a mandolin in both hands. Some people don't. But not me. There you go. I don't know.
Okay.
You put me on the spot now. The Uncle Leo's kicking in. All right, go ahead.
Okay. We got a question from Larry.
Reindress.
Yes.
Hey, Larry, buddy. How you doing, brother?
Have you ever played with George Herbert or the Bunkhouse Boys, Brunswick Playboys, and Anne Murray fame?
I know Georgie Bear really well, and I haven't. I don't know if I've ever played with George. I've. Wait a minute now. I think I may have played on one of his records. But Georgie Bear is one of the best guitar players that ever come out of the Maritimes.
So it's not Herbert then?
No, he Bear. Yeah, Hebert. It's all right. You didn't know. You don't know who he is. And yeah, I love George. George is just a tremendous, not only a great guitar player, but a tremendously fine gentleman. It's rare to find that, unfortunately these days, and especially somebody who's done all the things that he's done. You wouldn't know that man could be a janitor when you meet him, right? The man's traveled all over the world, played in Vegas, just tremendous man. I love him to death. So there's the answer to that question. Next.
We have a very generous super chat from Cam, but I think it's I wouldn't call it altruistic based on the question.
All right.
Who is your favorite fan, and will, or do you follow his YouTube channel?
Who's my favorite fan? Well, I can't play favorites, but Master, I can't really say who that is, but Cam.
Do you follow his channel?
I didn't know you had one. Am I stunned?
Maybe.
I got to write this down. I'll make a note of that. I didn't even know you had a damn channel. Or maybe I have seen some stuff on it and don't even realize it's you. That could happen too. Everything gets shoved onto Facebook from YouTube. You could be posting stuff I'm watching every day, especially if it's about Cape Breton. So, yeah. I'm going to look that up. I'm looking you up now as soon as I'm done with this. I'm about to spook you or creep you. What do they call that? Stalk him? Creep him?
Creep?
Yeah.
Creep.
Creep him. I'm going to creep you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, McMaster. Sorry. I get that in my head now.
We have a super chat from Joe McGraw.
Oh, Joe. How you doing?
Do or have you ever used a bone saddle for the mandolin? They sound amazing, but I know a guy that makes them.
I never have, and I would imagine they would sound pretty incredible, but I think the one mandolin that I know that had a bone top on it used to cut strings real bad, and that's something that the rosewood or ebony doesn't do. And it might be louder, but I think it would also be a little bit too bright. There's a reason why they make them out of rosewood and ebony. Bone, I don't know. I'm not sure if I'm sure it sounds good, but there's a lot about bone on a mandolin that doesn't quite make sense, because they use bone in a guitar saddle because the saddle is touching the top, and the mandolin, the saddle doesn't touch the top on a mandolin. It's trying to translate through those thumb screws, which are metal. So, yeah, I might try one. I mean, if I found one that had that, I'd have no problem playing it. I'm sure it sounds good, but I think the ones that I've come across in my lifetime, it would have been 30 years ago when I saw one, probably. I think the guy that had it was just cutting strings left and right. Couldn't keep strings on it; they just bust because the angle's sharp and the bone gets sharp when it degrades. So whereas rosewood and ebony gets gentler, the strings grind the groove out on the saddle a different way. Bone is brittle and sharp at times. So I don't know. Next,
We have a super chat from Caper Away.
Caper Away.
What do you recommend for studio monitors?
I use Focals. They're a French speaker, and there's varying sizes of them, but you can find them at Long & McQuaid. Just go in there and ask them for Focal studio reference speakers, and they'll direct you to whatever size that you want. I think mine are 8s. I don't remember the model number of them, but they're incredible speakers. Yeah, I love them. They were actually, I bought them because Dave Gunning, who has sort of the sister studio to this place, uses Atoms, I think they're called, and the two speakers work well to A/B with each other. So things that sound a certain way in Dave's studio could bring files to my studio, and they'd sound a certain way through these speakers. And that's why we chose them. And I also use a little set of Yamaha NS10 style. They're not NS10s, they're the new ones, H something or other. I don't remember what they're called either. But they're just little tiny reference speakers. They're super flat, super clean. And I have all 4 of them set up, mounted, and can switch between the 2 sets of speakers. I also use a Marshall Woburn Bluetooth speaker. It's a big Marshall Bluetooth speaker that I've got hardwired into the system, and that's a third source I can listen through to make sure that things sound good in narrow stereo and or mono almost, and through a commercial style speaker. So yeah, I always found that studio monitors are they're subjective, and they're also, there's what I use in my studio might sound like crap in your room, and vice versa, right? The speakers aren't the studio sound isn't really about the speakers. It's about what speakers you put in your room, and they could be anything. And the best way to do things is to go to Long & McQuaid and try things. Rent a set of something and try it. If it's no good, take it back, try another thing. They'll do that with you. Long & McQuaid will work with you all day on stuff like that. So yeah, don't ever go by what a set of speakers sounds like in someone else's room, because it's not going to be the same for you. You got to match your room with the right reinforcement. There you go. Next.
I'm getting kisses from Jack. We got a super chat from Buzz Gould.
Buzz, that's a new name.
I think it is.
Buzz Gould. Welcome.
He says, here's some coin for the next live at Ginger's Burn. Love your channel. Ginger is a gem.
Here you go, Ginger. Ginger gets the props there tonight.
Well, thank you. Oh dear. I'm trying to hold the dog and scroll through chat. Here we go. Next question's from the Happy Knot.
Happy Cannot.
I know you've discussed these guitar brands before, but in your opinion, why does a handmade high-end Yamaha sound better than a handmade high-end TAC?
Because there's no such thing as a handmade TAC. There just isn't. They don't make guitars by hand. All of their guitars are factory made, and They may well be some portions of them done by hand, but it doesn't matter what kind of tack you pick up. It's a factory-made guitar. They're usually finished in polyurethane or whatever that polyurethane, I think, instead of nitros. They're a factory guitar. That's why you can spend, like, you can buy the most expensive tack that you can buy is the limited edition that comes out each year. But the limited edition, there's thousands and thousands of them because they're made in factories. So there's no high-end handmade tacks that I'm aware of, unless there's some custom shop that I'm not aware of when that comes to that brand. Some of their high-end guitars, the ones that they're looking for $4,000 and $5,000 for, they're pretty damn good guitars, but they're heavy. They're the heaviest guitars I've ever played, and some of it's the finish, some of it's the type of wood they're choosing. They're heavily built guitars, much the same as the early Japanese guitars were. They built guitars very heavy because they didn't want the guitars to be... it was explained to me rather eloquently by Chris Meikle, who works for Yeri, St. Louis Music Alvarez, and even Yeri himself and Yamaha, the builders, Hiroshi Sakurai, and the guys that were building these guitars in the 60s and 70s, 60s especially, but Yeri especially, they built guitars that were really heavy, literally. They weighed a ton. The wood was thicker, the finish was thicker, and the reason was, this is amazing, the Japanese customer, the sensibility of the Japanese customer, they didn't want to hear guitar music that sounded... they expected guitars to sound like their music sounds. So they wanted guitars that were sparkling and bright and had high end and not a lot of bass, and that were beautiful and lyrical and harp-like, but with no bass. They didn't want bass. So their guitars were built that way, to sound subdued and pretty, like beautiful tone, but none of this great booming, dreadnought style sound. And if you play a tack, that's exactly what it sounds like. It sounds like they still are building for that Japanese, Asian, consumer that wants a heavily built, and being heavily built means they're going to be incredibly durable. So a heavily built guitar that's not going to crack, warp, whatever, and they're quiet. They're not a projection guitar, and that's why people use tacks, is because they got one of the best under saddle pickups that's ever been made. Them and Ovation are the two companies that made proprietary pickup systems that were just foolproof on the road. They don't sound incredible, but they sound the same every night. It doesn't matter what you plug into, the guitar is going to come out, and that's why people have gravitated to Ovation and Takamine for years, because they're so reliable. And would you record in a studio with a tack? No, they're just not good recording guitars at all. They're horrendous in front of a microphone. But plugged in, wow. They just never fail, especially if you're just a rhythm player. They just sound like they're beautiful. They're ringing, clear. But they're not designed for guys like me who play a little bit of everything and a lot of detuning, and I expect to have bottom end coming out of my guitar because I'm the only moving part on stage and I'm a bass player. You just can't get that out of a tack. If you do, it's just mud. So anyhow, that was a long, circuitous answer, but again, I don't really think there is such a thing as a handmade tack. I never heard of one, so I could be wrong. There's a lot of things I haven't heard of, but I've never heard of that, because I am a closet tack fan. So if there were that level of tack, I would probably own one. So, but I don't own any, because they just don't cut the mustard enough to get into my stable anymore.
You had one for a long time, though.
Oh yeah, I've had them. I used them for years.
12-string?
My 12-string was Attack. It was one of the best 12 strings I ever owned. I just sold it because I have my Boucher, so I don't need another 12. I only need one 12-string. So, yeah. So there you go. Who's next?
Is he bothering the dog? Jeff Gallant sent
Jeff Gallant again.
Now your name is Johnny Honest. That's forever your name.
Johnny Honest, yeah.
Your song Another Morning. Could you play a little? And what was your inspiration for it? Was it to see Ginger another morning? Didn't even know me yet.
Well, you know me, I don't take requests on this show, but I will tell you what the inspiration was. It was I had gone to the funeral of a gentleman that I knew, and he was an old man when he passed away. He was a good fiddler. His wife and him married late in life, like literally in their late 60s they got married, and they lived in an old folks home. And they had matching platform rockers in their living room, and they used to sit in those two rockers and watch the soap operas in the afternoon, and they'd sit there and yell at the TV, and, what are you doing that for? She's going to do you in, and blah, blah, blah. Oh, you shouldn't have done that. That's what they would do all afternoon in these two rocking chairs, and she called him Yogi, and he called her Boo Boo. And they had this, it was a magical marriage. And he was a fiddler. He was a good fiddler. He had one finger that was crippled that he couldn't bend anymore. So he took an elastic band and wrapped it around his finger so he could play the fiddle. And he was a good fiddler. And so he died. And after the funeral and the graveside service, I ended up back at the old folks' home with his widow. And I went in the apartment there, and I sat down in his chair. And it was quiet, and there was nobody else around. And they had all kind of scattered around the place there. And in come the widow and sat beside me, and we were just sitting there. And I just looked at her, and the TV was off, and I was just looked at her. I said, wow, it's amazing that he's not here, And he'd been a few days gone, of course, and she looked at me and she said, I still talk to him. I put the TV on and watch the soaps, and I still talk to him like he's here. It's like he never left the house. And that's what started the whole song. I went home that day and wrote the song based upon that one statement. And of course, I couldn't write the song from her perspective, so I turned it into a first-person story, a man going through what she'd gone through. Where he had, he was alone. He'd lost his wife. He'd lost his daughter. His children were moved away. It's exactly the same story that she had, right? And there was even the thing about looking out the window at the children. She could see the school from her house, or from her apartment in the old folks' home. She could see the school and the playground. She'd watch the kids play, and so the whole song was built right in front of my eyes in the space of 5 minutes. And I just went home, wrote it down. That's all there was to it. There wasn't any work to that song whatsoever. So, because that's the best ones. Connexty.
Eli Patrick Bluegrass.
Eli Patrick, welcome back.
Do you prefer to play upright or electric bass? Myself, I'm an upright player, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts.
I love all bass. I play them all. I play upright, I play electric. I have a variety of basses. I don't have an upright anymore. I did. But I ended up sampling it, so I saved it. I kept all the notes of it, about 1,500 of them in here in a program I did. And I also play a pair of Warwicks. I have a Warwick 4-string electric, and I have a Warwick 4-string acoustic bass. And I just recently purchased a Kayla ukulele bass, which I absolutely love. It might be my favorite bass I've ever had. It's unbelievable, especially recording. I've been recording with it, and it's just unreal. It's an amazing instrument. So, yeah, I love them all. If you're good at all of them, that's a really unique talent, especially the ability to play upright. Upright acoustic bass is one of the hardest things to play it well. And like to get the full tone of the instrument to where it can be recorded successfully. Dave Gunning's a monster at that. He has the tone. He's a tone god, and I never was. I used to have to really work hard at playing upright bass on my records because I was just never satisfied with my tone and my attack. And so I used to do all kinds of tricks with double miking. I would mic the bridge and the neck, and I would do all kinds of weird stuff. I even laid down on the floor one time and recorded it, just to change the angle and the where the sound was going in the room. Yeah. So yeah, if you love bass, you're close to my heart because I just love it. I've always loved playing bass. Okay, next.
We got Michael Mercier.
Michael Mercier.
Relatively new viewer here, and I love your playing. Who are some of your favorite guitarists outside bluegrass, folk, country, and why?
Django Reinhardt was my favorite guitar player outside of those things. And I don't have to say why. I mean, Django Reinhardt was God. And as time went on, when I was a kid and found out the man only had these two fingers on his left hand, that made him even more God. And my other guitar heroes were Yngwie Malmsteen and Joe Satriani and Steve Vai and Eric Johnson and Randy Rhoads and Eddie Van Halen. And I learned a ton from shredders, heavy metal players, neoclassical metal players. I learned a ton of technique from those guys because they were so fast. And I learned those techniques and took that speed over to the acoustic in the right hand especially. Just watching Yngwie Malmsteen play for 10 minutes is like, holy shit. The guy is flawless and effortless in his right hand. His left hand is impressive, but the right hand is even more impressive. Seeing as he's picking every note most of the time that he plays every note. There's not a lot of hammer-ons or slurs, or he's going, he's doing 30-second notes like at the speed of light. And I thought, I looked at those guys and said, if they can do it, I can do it. And there was even one lick that Yngwie did on an acoustic in the middle of a piece that he did on the Trilogy album, I think it was. And he did it on an acoustic, on an Ovation, balladeer. And when he played it, I went, that's not possible. It's just not possible. And then I saw him do it live in a video. He did it live on stage. I went, holy shit. And so that was another big wake-up call for me. It's funny, People listen to me play and think that I lived with Tony Rice records in my bed and slept with Doc Watson under my pillow and all these things. I was a child of metal. I loved metal. I listened to Ozzy Osbourne when I was a kid. Loved Randy Rhoads. He was a wicked guitar player. And when Van Halen came out, I nearly shit. Like those guys, it took me to another level. And I never played electric. I played electric when I had to play it for a job. And of course, then we have to go back into the country side of things because when I was playing electric, it was mostly, there was some rock. I did some rock gigs for a few years, but I also did country gigs. And I always modeled my playing after James Burton, who was Elvis Presley's guitar player, and Ricky Nelson's guitar player, and like him and Albert Lee were two of the best electric players in the world, right? And you'd be surprised, eh? What some people listen to. You think you can tell by their repertoire how they learn what they listen to, but you can't. I've surprised a lot of people with that particular answer about where what my background was in guitar. So, who's next?
Bruce Viander.
Bruce Viander. How you doing, buddy?
Hoyt Axton was a singer-songwriter I greatly admired. Have you ever met him in your music travels?
I never did meet him. but I never met him. I was close to meeting him once. He was at a venue that I played at the night after he was there. That's as close as I got to. But I always loved something that Hoyt Axton said. It was actually Nashville Now, the television show. We were on it the following night, and I had watched his performance. And he came down and sat with Ralph Emery after the song was over, and he was just pouring sweat. And Ralph said, this is God's honest truth. Ralph said, "Jesus, Hoyt, are you all right there? Would you like a towel?" And Hoyt Axton said, I learned early on, you should always wear 2 or 3 shirts and a jacket when you play. And he showed everybody. He had a shirt on and 3 T-shirts underneath and a big heavy jacket and a hat. And Ralph said, "Why in the name of God are you doing that?" He said, "Well, if you're sweating, you're working. People love to see you sweat." And that's what. And apparently, he always did that. He overdressed on purpose on stage so he could pour sweat and make it look like he was really working hard, because he wasn't. He was a very laid-back guy and a tremendous singer-songwriter. So yeah, I thought that was a cool story about him. That's amazing.
We have a super chat from Michael Easter.
All right.
It's just a comment. Raising a glass of String Theory and Randy Rhoads. Rest in peace. Great show tonight.
Awesome. Yeah. Here's to Randy.
Let's see here.
Ginger is searching through the maelstrom.
We have a question from Shlomo.
Oh, yeah.
What do you think about tone right for aging a guitar and violin?
Tone right?
Tone right. Tone right?
Tone right.
Tone right. Tone right.
Tone right.
Yes.
I don't know what that is. I will find out what that is.
Seems like some sort of artificial aging process? Or is it a wood? I don't know.
What's the question again?
What do you think about tone right?
For what?
For aging guitar and violin. Or is it to...
Oh. Well, I don't know if he means to age a violin or for old violin.
For an old... Yeah.
I'm not sure what... I don't know. I don't know anything about it. But I've got it written down. I'll look it up. So hit me back next week. I'll have some info.
Do you want to talk about the String Theory merch?
Do we have String Theory merch?
Yes. In the store?
Yes. Okay. So, yeah, maybe we better do that. So we've opened up our Shopify store again, and you can access it by going into my Facebook artist page and hit the buy button. It'll take you right there. Or you can go to search the J.P. Cormier Warehouse on Google. Just Google it. The jpcormierwarehouse.com. That will take you there. And yes, we do have a lot of merch there now. We've got shot glasses, hats, hoodies, T-shirts, the USB keys, 4 or 5 different CDs of the old catalog.
The glasses aren't up yet. I have to do that.
Yeah, the glasses are coming. The shot glasses, the String Theory, and they're customizable.
Oh, they're not shot glasses. They're
whiskey glasses like this
those.
one. The String Theory whiskey glass.
I should take pictures and put it up.
And yeah, so that's going to be that's the one-stop merch place for everything that we do, including I'm soon going to put the new album up there on pre-sale. So if you buy a copy early, you save $5 and it comes to you autographed. The new album is called Us, and it's going to be a doozy. So we're working hard on it now. So it'll be ready in the next 2 or 3 months. I'll probably release it in the summer, but we're going to put the pre-sale up for a couple of months beforehand so that enough people can come and get her. And so you pay early, and when I make the physical copies, we will mail them out to you, signed and sealed and delivered. And I got to think of a question too.
You're supposed to do that before.
I know, but I'm having so much fun, I forgot where I was. That's all right.
All day?
Yeah. Who's
Stray,
next? Who's
stray,
next?
stray thoughts. B.H. Ringer. What make of uke did Tiny Tim play?
I have no idea. I don't know. I'm not sure. It was probably custom made. That man had a lot of money. He died on stage. You know that? That was a sad thing.
Really?
Yeah, he died on stage singing. Incredible. A lot of guys did that actually, but he was right in the middle of a song, and he just turned away from the mic and gone. It was right in front of a big crowd
Way to do
of
it.
5,000 people in Florida. He was a well-loved man. He was a lovely man and a tremendous artist. He pretty well changed the game, in a lot of ways for what could be acceptable. And he was one of those first outrageous acts that gained massive commercial success. And and he was a great man. Everything I've ever seen about him was always positive. People talking about him and what he was like, and the things that he did for other people, and it was pretty awesome. So here's a Tiny Tim. Yeah.
We got a super chat from Sylvia. No question as far as I can see.
Okay.
Thank you for the super chat.
Thank you, Sylvia.
And Terry Raymond says Tone Right is an apparatus that claims to age new instruments. They sound broken in. It vibrates the top when you're not using the instrument.
Right. Yeah, I go for it. I'll tell you what the premise is, and I believe this. I've done it myself. Years ago, when people had floor model stereo systems where they had big console speakers that sat on the floor, I used to do this all the time. You buy a new instrument and you just lean the guitar right up against, like face first into the speaker, and play a record on repeat for hours. And when you come back home from work or wherever you come back from, that guitar would just be wide open, and it's true. So yes, I know what you're talking about. I've heard of that. I forgot about it, but absolutely, I think they work. If I remember correctly, it's a smaller device that just creates a tone, and I think you can change it depending on the instrument size and whatnot. But the premise is sound. No pun intended.
Yeah.
The premise is sound. It vibrates the instrument and causes it to come to life, right? The same as it would come to life from playing it. So I'm not sure, you might be getting a bit more zing from it than just playing it. So if you let it sit there for 4 hours, it might be like playing it for 8. But it's definitely true. It'll open up. Exposing instruments to loud, direct sound waves actually does make them come to life faster than normal. So there you go.
Jeff Gallant he wants me to tell you that I love you.
What, he loves me?
So that I do?
Well, I knew that.
He just wants me to tell you.
Oh, we all knew that, Jeff. She wouldn't believe me. She wouldn't be sitting here if she didn't love me. I'm telling you right now.
No, he wouldn't be sitting here.
Well, however you want to word it. So the question tonight is, who's a good divorce lawyer? No, just kidding. So let's talk about the prizes. So this week we're just going to do our normal weekly prizes. Next Wednesday, and your names are going. The last week's names are in for the grand prize at G&G, and so will this week be as well. And but for this week, until we get, I really want to get something good going with Glenn, so I got to talk to him first. So, the question.
Mm-hmm. Well, you think you play Tiptoe Through the Tulips?
No.
Oh.
I don't know it.
Can you sing it?
Tiptoe through the tulips, through the tulips, dee 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 dee. You missed the little dance that goes on over there with that, right? So, yeah. Anyhow, fantasy music. You get a free set of elixirs. You get a Red Label Yamaha t-shirt and if you come in the store only, in store, and you don't buy a boucher, spend over $100 and Steve takes care of your taxes. G&G Music, as usual, you'll get the Levy's leather strap, and I think he's given some, let me check to see here. I think he might have sent me some stuff here. You gotta get your strap, your strings, your winder, and it usually gives like a $25 or $50 off a Recording King or something like that. You get a hold of him, he'll tell you what's up. And next week we're going to announce what his grand prize is going to be. Jesus, I'm at a blank. This is getting harder. It should be. We've only done this for 50 weeks. I should do a hard one. That's too hard. Okay. What kind of speakers do I use in my studio? Let's see if they were listening. First two people.
Any of the three types?
No. The main ones. The ones I mentioned first. Who makes them? They may be screwed.
Paper ones. We got two.
Okay.
Cam was first.
He may
hasn't
not.
won this year.
He hasn't?
I
Okay.
think so.
The answer is Focal.
Yep.
That's Cam. So Cam, send me an email, jpcormier38@gmail.com. I'll send that on to you're our fantasy winner in the draw for Glenn's prize. And who's number two?
Catfish Creek Chuck.
Oh, Catfish Creek. I know him. Catfish Creek Chuck, you've won the fantasy music prize. Please send me an email right now to jpcormier38@gmail.com. jpcormier38@gmail.com, and I'll forward you on to G&G. You've won the strap and the strings, and probably a little coupon there for a guitar purchase if you want to take something up. Glenn's got an amazing assortment of stuff there. So yeah. Anyhow, there we go. So there's one more week gone. God, we haven't missed a week, have we? Except over Christmas.
Yeah.
That was it. And I suspect if the universe is willing, we won't miss any more from now on. And so there we go. We're glad to be with you. Special thanks to Fantasy and G&G and all the great partners I have working with me. As soon as I get this record project out of the way, and I'm working on my own as well, keep your eyes open for more review stuff. I got a lot of stuff to review here. I've got one more Yeri to review. I've got a Recording King old-time banjo to review. I've got Sigmas are coming up. A really cool, actually two cool Sigma review videos. And yeah, so we're just wide open. And this one smoked porter lasts me the whole show. See you next week, and I hope you never find your perfect guitar, because then you'd have to stop looking.